a salary of about 1 million, taxes included, and by the time it comes to their pockets, it's about what, 400K. And someone who does vocational, this is the gig economy that we are feeding into, and that means that someone can get a gig. One gig like this could get them 2 million in just one day, which someone who has a white-collar job could sit and wait for that 2 million for a whole month. So I think it's a field that should be pushed, given where the world is going, the global look and vantage on things. Vocation has a seat at the table. But indeed, good morning to you, dear viewer. One of the stories that also caught my eye over the weekend was a sad story of a student from Seta High School who committed suicide. And the story has it that the student is a son to the owner of Trinity Love Schools in Yenama, but he committed suicide over the father's refusal.
Alleged refusal.
Alleged refusal, indeed, for not giving him 2 million Uganda shillings. But the conversation around it is not even just at what the reason, but the conversation, I think, for me is more on is it a conversation on nurturing? Is it a conversation on mental health amongst the young? So much to look into in regards to a case such as that one, yet very, very sad. But also the other that caught my attention was one of Magezi David William, a fresh graduate from Makerere Business School, who is looking forward to challenging President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni come 2026. It looks like the election pressure is starting to take shape every single day in regards to the election 2026. And I'm looking forward to a lot more that unravels in regards to that.
All right. Now, Magezi was one of the gentlemen we once hosted here on Good Morning Uganda when the Mobs Guild's presidency was booming. He was here, very interesting young man. And as a Ugandan, the Constitution gives him the right to contest for any seat in the country. So he's vying for the presidency. Let's see how that will pan out come next year. Well, going to Studio B, Robert Chirabo has some bit of, what should I say, feelings regarding things of this nature. Robert, what's your say about, I think Magezi is not older than 25. I could even be being generous with his age. What's your opinion on a young man of his age vying for the highest office in the land? Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, we amended our constitution and removed age limit, because even for presidency we had an age limit not only on how old you should be to become. I think before it was 45 years. Now with the removal of the age limit, it made it even someone of 18 years being able to stand for presidency. Now, as many were against lifting age in terms of olderness, that maybe if you clock this age you can't, because now I made that amendment, we forgot that we are also opening room for such.
What do you mean by such?
For such, you know, we are reducing politics so much. A person just out of university, what do you have to think that you can lead a country? There's a way we are reducing our politics, but that's not my story. For the week, I think mine was yesterday at Namirembe Cathedral, where a retired dean of Namirembe Cathedral and the 9th dean of Namirembe Cathedral, Reverend Canon Augustine Musiufu, hinted seriously on government. The man of God, I don't know which spirit he was in, but he came very hard on first the clergy, saying you're keeping quiet as things are happening. You're not speaking about the arrest of Besigye. You're only focusing on getting cars from government. People are being oppressed. You are so tough on the clergy. And I was like, but I remember once the dean. Were these things not happening? Or our cameras didn't get your attention? Should
we focus more on what happened in the past or where people are at right now when it comes to their opinions regarding issues of national importance?
There's a thing they call moral authority. If you never had an opportunity to speak then, is it now because you're safe from retirement? But that said, what he said had a lot of meaning and value.
All right, Robert, please take us through the local news that we have gathered today.
I'll begin with President Yoweri Museveni, who has urged academic institutions to guide students in making informed career choices, emphasizing the importance of selecting science and technology-related subjects. In his speech delivered by the Vice President, retired Major Jessica Alupo at the Uganda Education and Career Expo in Mbarara, Museveni expressed the need for students to adopt a rapidly evolving global economy driven largely by science and technology. He highlighted the growing demand for skilled workers as Uganda advances its industrialization efforts. Museveni noted that the country now has sufficient infrastructure, including electricity and roads, and is prioritizing industrialization to curb excessive imports. He warned that importing goods leads to job losses and economic drain as foreign companies benefit instead of Ugandans. Reflecting on his time at Intare School, Museveni criticized colonial education's divisive religious-based approach, which hindered the development of skilled middle class in Uganda. He applauded Intare School's non-sectarian approach and its role it played in shaping his values. Right Reverend Canon Augustine Lupinyi was consecrated and enthroned as the 5th Bishop of Nebi Catholic Diocese at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Cathedral in Nebi. The ceremony was officiated by the Archbishop Raphael Pinmo Orokorach of Gulu, with Vice President Jessica Alupo representing President Museveni. In his message, Museveni congratulated Bishop Lupinyi and emphasized the importance of continuity in the church's mission. He encouraged the new bishop to rely on God's guidance and focus on preaching love, unity, and hard work to improve the lives of the faithful. Museveni also praised the role of the church in sectoral development, urging religious leaders to guide their communities in participating in government welfare programs. Bishop Lupinyi, born in Parambo in 1974, has an extensive theological background and has served in various roles within the church, including rector of Uganda Matters National Major Seminary in Akolukulu. And finally, on the local scene, a section of medical practitioners from all over Uganda are standing in solidarity for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye as a result of his health condition. This was during a press conference at Katonga. Medical practitioners expressed their profound dissatisfaction with the prolonged legal proceedings involving Dr. Kizza Besigye in response to the incident where Besigye appeared in court on a wheelchair in his recent court hearing. They have band together to sign a petition urging for his peaceful medical release. Dr. Okware Obuku, the former president, Uganda Medical Association, and his colleagues, including prominent figure like Dr. Sechanzi Henry, have taken a firm stance on this issue. Concerns have been raised about Dr. Kizza Besigye's health condition, particularly given his age of 65 years. Medical experts fear he may develop refeeding syndrome due to a prolonged hunger strike, compounded by other health issues. Dr. Okware highlighted Dr. Besigye's extensive experience in medicine and emphasized the urgency of his release for better medical care. In a sign of unity and determination, 675 doctors, 1,064 non-medical professionals, and 84 pharmacists have signed the petition for Dr. Besigye's release. The petition has been shared with key authorities including the Inspector General of Police, the Chief Justice, Office of the President, and the Speaker of Parliament of Uganda. Dr. Sechanzi Henry and Dr. Ekwaro Obuku were leading the church, emphasizing the critical need for compassion and justice in this situation. As the medical community rallies together, they urge authorities to prioritize Dr. Besigye's medical care. And with that, we come to the end of our local stories.
Now, moving on with international news, Volodymyr Zelensky said he would be willing to give up his presidency in exchange for peace ahead of the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. If to achieve peace you really need to give up my post, I'm ready. I can trade it for NATO membership if there are such conditions, the Ukrainian president said in response to a question during a news conference. His comments came after the US President Donald Trump called Zelensky a dictator without elections earlier in the week. I wasn't offended, but a dictator would be, Zelensky, who was democratically elected in May 2019, responded on Sunday. I am focused on Ukraine's security today, not in 20 years. I'm not going to be in power for decades, he added. According to Ukrainian law, elections are suspended under martial law, which has been in place since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Zelensky is meeting Western leaders on Monday, some in person in Kyiv and some online, as they work out how to provide a post-war security where the US will not. Now moving on, Pope Francis remains in a critical condition but has not presented any further respiratory crises, the Vatican said in a statement on Sunday. He was still receiving high-flow oxygen therapy and had undergone blood transfusions. Blood tests also showed he had initial mild and renal insufficiency, a kidney problem that is currently under control, the statement added. The Vatican said he continues to be alert and well-oriented. The Pope was admitted to Rome's Gemelli Hospital on 14th February after experiencing breathing difficulties for several days, where he was first treated for bronchitis before being diagnosed with pneumonia in both lungs. On Sunday, the Pope's thrombocytopenia, a condition that occurs when the platelet count in the blood is too low, was stable, the statement said. In the morning, the Pope participated in the Holy Mass together with those who are taking care of him during these days, the statement continued. The Vatican did not offer prognosis given the complexity of the clinical picture. The new statement comes after the Vatican said on Saturday that the Pope had experienced a respiratory crisis and was in a critical condition. Now moving on, in a significant stride towards unifying Africa's skies and advancing economic integration, the Republic of Malawi has officially signed the solemn commitment to join the Single African Air Transport Market. The Single Air African Transport Market, a flagship project of the African Union's Agenda 2063, aims to establish a unified air transport market across the continent, enhancing Africa's broader economic integration efforts. The signing ceremony took place in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, on the sidelines of the 38th African Union Summit. Malawi's Foreign Minister, Honorable Nancy Tembo, officially signed the solemn commitment in the presence of His Excellency Dr. Amani Abd Zaid, outgoing AU Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, alongside officials from the Malawi Embassy in Addis Ababa and the African Union. Malawi's accession marks a crucial step in building a more interconnected and seamless African aviation network, one that will serve the nearly 1.5 billion people across the continent. This bold move not only aligns with the African Union's vision of a united continent and the free movement of people, goods and services, but it will also enhance business, trade, tourism and mobility across Africa. Her Excellency Nancy Tembo remarked, as Malawi becomes the 38th nation to join SATIN, we are making a powerful commitment to the integration of Africa. Well, that does it for our local and international news. Now let's have a look at the press with Julie.
Good morning once again, and looking at what's in the press today, starting off with the Daily Nation. Retirees bear brunt of Ruto M-Pesa rule, but also looking at Raila's 4 options. What does it look like? That's in the Daily Nation. But also defining the week for Kome top judges. And inside elite Kenyan forces battle against Oromo militants. And also parents losing streak in court cases against private school orders. But looking at the Daily Monitor, NRM sends civilians back to military court. And looking at healthy living, enduring 4 years of non-stop menstrual bleeding, but also Medics petition government to release Dr. Besije, and Bolisa residents live in fear of elephant attacks. But looking at what's in the new vision, learners shun art subjects at top schools. And the pictorial there has NRM MPs want civilians with illegal firearms court-martialed. Looking at the marriage bill, religious leaders want cohabiting criminalized. And looking at the Pakasa, how Mayuge SACCOs grew from 900 Uganda shillings to 41 billion Uganda shillings. But there's also a story on police explaining the search at NUP offices, and another on how to manage stress among teenage students. But also there is Japan pledging to build the new Karuma Bridge, and Nebi Diocese gets new bishop. Looking at the Citizen, why agro exports are set to suffer, government responds. And in the pictorial there, Tanzania's agriculture export sector faces a major policy shift following a sharp increase in fees for phytosanitary certificates, which are essential for exporting agricultural produce. But also looking at the progress in the construction of the latest phase of SGR reaches 63%. And that's a quick look at what the press looks like this morning. Good morning, Uganda.
Well, we will be delving deeper into some of the conversations that we had as the highlights to the new week or from the old week. But for now, here is Palazzo with Ndikuachi. Enjoy and stick around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Eddie D, come on, Ndikuachi gwe ampo buku.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to a fresh new week of Good Morning Uganda, your trusted source for news, analysis and expert opinions and conversations. So we welcome you. It's a beautiful day. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, over the weekend, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni encouraged Uganda's youth to embrace vocational education for them to be ready for the workforce in future. This comes on the heels of the need of vocational education in Uganda to prepare Uganda's future workforce. But also last week, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye was in the spotlight once again after being charged with treason. Now, this has sparked debate in Uganda over political freedoms and governance on opposition leaders in the country. We will continue to follow stories of this nature and we'll bring you details regarding the same. But for now, welcome. Let's get started. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am totally fine.
You had a nice weekend?
It was good. I spent it in the presence of the Lord, so I'm empowered.
Okay, so on empowerment and of course starting a fresh new week, the president advising the youth to not only embrace but actually have a good attitude when it comes to vocational education. What's your say on that?
I mean, with the world that we are living in right now,
Yeah.
I think vocational is taking as kusipid, if I might borrow that term from, the slang language. I mean, if you look at white collar jobs lately in regards, someone can sit in office and wait for a salary of about 1 million. Taxes included, and by the time it comes to their pockets, it's about what, 400K. And someone who does vocational, this is the gig economy that we are feeding into, and that means that someone can get a gig, one gig like this could get them 2 million in just one day, which someone who has a white collar job could sit and wait for that 2 million for a whole month. So I think it's a field that should be pushed, given where the world is going, the global look and vantage on things. Vocation has a seat at the table. But indeed, good morning to you, dear viewer. One of the stories that also caught my eye over the weekend was a sad story of a student from Seta High School who committed suicide. And the story has it that the student is a son to the owner of Trinity Love Schools in Yenama, but he committed suicide over the father's refusal.
Alleged refusal.
Alleged refusal, indeed, for not giving him 2 million Uganda shillings. But the conversation around it is not even just at what the reason, but the conversation, I think, for me is more on is it a conversation on nurturing? Is it a conversation on mental health amongst the young? So much to look into in regards to a case such as that one, yet very, very sad. But also the other that caught my attention was one of Magezi David William, a fresh graduate from Makerere Business School, who is looking forward to challenging President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni come 2026. It looks like the election pressure is starting to take shape every single day in regards to the election 2026. And I'm looking forward to a lot more that unravels in regards to that.
All right. Now, Magezi was one of the gentlemen we once hosted here on Good Morning Uganda when the Mobs Guild's presidency was booming. He was here, very interesting young man. And as a Ugandan, the Constitution gives him the right to contest for any seat in the country. So he's vying for the presidency. Let's see how that will pan out come next year. Well, going to Studio B, Robert Chirabo has some bit of, what should I say, feelings regarding things of this nature. Robert, what's your say about, I think Magezi is not older than 25. I could even be being generous with his age. What's your opinion on a young man of his age vying for the highest office in the land? Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, we amended our constitution and removed age limit because even for presidents
in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to a fresh new week of Good Morning Uganda, your trusted source for news, analysis and expert opinions and conversations. So we welcome you. It's a beautiful day. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, over the weekend, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni encouraged Uganda's youth to embrace vocational education for them to be ready for the workforce in future. This comes on the heels of the need of vocational education in Uganda to prepare Uganda's future workforce. But also last week, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye was in the spotlight once again after being charged with treason. Now, this has sparked debate in Uganda over political freedoms and governance on opposition leaders in the country. We will continue to follow stories of this nature and we'll bring you details regarding the same. But for now, welcome. Let's get started. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am totally fine.
You had a nice weekend?
It was good. I spent it in the presence of the Lord, so I'm empowered.
Okay, so on empowerment and of course starting a fresh new week, the president advising the youth to not only embrace but actually have a good attitude when it comes to vocational education. What's your say on that? I
mean, with the world that we are living in right now,
Yeah.
I think vocational is taking us kusipid, if I might borrow that term from, the slang language. I mean, if you look at white collar jobs lately in regards, someone can sit in office and wait for a salary of about 1 million. Taxes included, and by the time it comes to their pockets, it's about what, 400K. And someone who does vocational, this is the gig economy that we are feeding into, and that means that someone can get a gig, 1 gig like this could get them 2 million in just one day, which someone who has a white collar job could sit and wait for that 2 million for a whole month. So I think it's as a field that should be pushed, given where the world is going, the global look advantage on things. Vocation has a seat at the table. But indeed, good morning to you, dear viewer. One of the stories that also caught my eye over the weekend was a sad story of a student from Seta High School who committed suicide. And the story has it that the student is a son to the owner of Trinity Love Schools in Yenama, but he committed suicide over the father's refusal.
Alleged refusal.
Alleged refusal, indeed, for not giving him 2 million Uganda shillings. But the conversation around it is not even just at what the reason, but the conversation, I think, for me is more on is it a conversation on nurturing? Is it a conversation on mental health amongst the young? So much to look into in regards to a case such as that one, yet very, very sad. But also the other that caught my attention was one of Magezi David William, a fresh graduate from Makerere Business School, who is looking forward to challenging President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni come 2026. It looks like the election pressure is starting to take shape every single day in regards to the election 2026. And I'm looking forward to a lot more that unravels in regards to that.
All right. Now, Magezi was one of the gentlemen we once hosted here on Good Morning Uganda when the Mobs Guild's presidency was booming. He was here, very interesting young man. And as a Ugandan, the Constitution gives him the right to contest for any seat in the country. So he's vying for the presidency. Let's see how that will pan out come next year. Well, going to Studio B, Robert Chirabo has some bit of, what should I say, feelings regarding things of this nature. Robert, what's your say about, I think Magezi is not older than 25. I could even be being generous with his age. What's your opinion on a young man of his age vying for the highest office in the land? Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, we amended our constitution and removed age limit because even for presidents
in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to a fresh new week of Good Morning Uganda, your trusted source for news, analysis and expert opinions and conversations. So we welcome you. It's a beautiful day. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, over the weekend, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni encouraged Uganda's youth to embrace vocational education for them to be ready for the workforce in future. This comes on the heels of the need of vocational education in Uganda to prepare Uganda's future workforce. But also last week, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye was in the spotlight once again after being charged with treason. Now, this has sparked debate in Uganda over political freedoms and governance on opposition leaders in the country. We will continue to follow stories of this nature and will bring you details regarding the same. But for now, welcome. Let's get started. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am totally fine.
You had a nice weekend?
It was good. I spent it in the presence of the Lord, so I'm empowered.
Okay, so on empowerment and of course starting a fresh new week, the president advising the youth, then adopt Kinyankole. It doesn't matter if Najuma is in that school, she will have to adopt. If you're in Kampala, then adopt Luganda. If you're in northern Uganda, but then there are nuances to that. So I would like to hear your views regarding the same, to integrate or not to integrate local languages into our lower primary curriculum.
I think if you ask me, I would take it back to a certain degree, take it back to the home nurturing. And I'll use an example of myself. I come from a family where mother is not a Muganda, my father is a Muganda, and ultimately I had to grow up figuring it out, right? But this is one thing I appreciate about my mother. She insisted that our father is a Muganda, and she insisted that we must speak Luganda. She put it upon herself to teach us Luganda, to cover us with everything, our clan, our culture. She even went as far as keeping a book for my brother to help him name his own children. And every time we asked her, why don't we speak your language or the English, she told us, my language, you'll find a way. And for English, you'll learn it from school. So because at home, it was strictly Luganda, and then at school, you'll find the English. I think I never found a problem at that. I never got a hard time trying to fit in either of the languages. And with her language, I still learned from relatives who visited at home, which helped me learn all of it. So to a certain degree, I think I would still bring in the home nurturing into the whole picture. Well, I would. I think the idea of having, having these local languages taught in schools based on their different regions. If you're in Kampala, then Luganda to a certain degree should be taught. If you're in the West, then Nyankore or Ruchiga or whatever should be taught to a certain degree. I think it also makes sense. But to a certain degree, I think we cannot also drop the home nurturing, the bit of home nurturing. That if at all you want your children to have all these languages, then have a strategy that at school, by all means, they'll learn English. And I'm blessed to have attended a school where English wasn't, it was a thing, it was the official language of the school, but then there was no illegality of you, if you do not speak English.
Which schools did you people go to? Because I seem to have gone to the wrong ones.
The school I attended, it was just known, you all speak English. So it wasn't hard for anyone who joined to just be in place and take position of the fact that I'm at school, it's by default, I'm speaking English. But the problem I've found with the whole idea of punishing students who speak their vernacular in schools and making them wear bones or wear socks, I also now realize that that whole confusion has developed slang language that mixes your local dialect with English.
No, I think slang, every culture has it.
It does.
The Nigerians have it, the South Africans have it, the Kenyans have it. I think that happens.
It does, except that for Ugandans, what I've noticed, because we are confused from childhood, we lose the command of our languages. You find that someone can't command their local dialect perfectly, and neither can they command their English perfectly.
So, Julie, in simple terms, to integrate local languages, because remember, a child before the age of 8, they still have a very fresh mind, and they can easily adopt many languages at the same time, at least 2, right?
Yeah.
But today you find that children can't I will give you an example. In the estate where I reside, children in there, we have South Sudanese, we have Ugandans, we have Rwandans, we have many. And they speak one language. English.
Yeah.
And you do realize that even when they go into their homesteads, this is the language. So given that the children spend pretty much their entire day at school and the minimalist time with the parents, let's face it, I'm here at 5, okay? And my kids are at school as well. So my interaction with them could be between 6 and 7:30 to 8, and then they go to bed.
Yeah.
Who do you think has more influence on these children
Their
when
teacher.
it comes to a language?
Their teacher at school.
Okay.
Their teacher at school, and ideally they will only speak English mostly. And I think for me it's integrate. Let's integrate, because we have to maintain our culture. They have to know their origins. They have to understand the why of things. And that is from knowing your language, your mother tongue. You can't only know English, so you can know both, and you can know that it's easy to interpret both and interpret life and translate life to a way that befits your understanding and cognitive process of life as it comes at you. So for me, integration is fine.
Integration is fine.
Yeah.
Well, that would bring the question of which one do we take? Now, Robert, coming back to you, also understanding that the ethnicity matters.
Yes.
As a Muganda, I am a Montu. So it's very easy for me to adopt any language from the Bantu group.
That's
but
true.
now imagine a child from northern Uganda studying in Kampala. Our ethnicities are different, so it could be a bit hard for them to adopt this Luganda. So there's so many nuances, and I hear
also,
where Robert was coming from.
Allow me
on this.
also, I think, pick from, there's a gentleman called Simon Senkai who's so passionate about culture, and he always insists that parents who insist on their children using English throughout their lives without while dropping their local dialect, allow me quote him. He uses the word busirusiru. We end up losing our cultural aspects. We end up losing who we actually are and moving on to the colonial wagon. And if you think about it, many of the things that we have adopted are all from a colonial mentality. Just taking it back from even the nursery school rhymes we had in school. Many of them had wrong messages. Jack and Jill went up the hill, had wrong messages. But all of it is from a colonial mentality.
That's why I'm happy I learned the Nambi.
You could say that, yeah, at least you have questions on who were these Baganda people. Who was Chintu, who was Nambi? Because they are all about your country.
Okay, now Robert, coming back to you, but before Robert, dear viewer, you can join the conversation through WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. We are looking at indigenous languages in schools, and the linguists and language teachers are decrying the existence of punishment when students speak their mother tongue while at school. What is your say about this? Should we or should we not continue with the punishment of students when they speak their mother tongue while at school? Now, Robert, this sounds like something easy, that let the children speak Luganda at home and let English be spoken at school. But I'm sorry, I'm going to ask this in a personal manner. Which language today, you grew up in a home that spoke Luganda, but which language does your homestead, you as Robert, use right now? I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I'm coming from somewhere.
Now, earlier on, I talked of exceptional situations. Now, my home has a very challenging situation.
Okay.
The two of us speak Luganda. But we found a challenge that the child speaks Congolese language. I think that is called Lingala, because the people they play with, the neighborhood is dominated by them. So accidentally, I want to use the word accidentally, the child can effectively communicate outside while playing with friends. He comes inside, he can't communicate with the parents. Wow. Now, inside, we are speaking Luganda. At the school, there is English. So to ease situations, we decided let English work. And the other language he gets from outside, where it's very fluent and you can hardly even understand what tribe he is because you think he comes from Congo. But that is an accident. It's not a normal situation.
Okay, Robert. I think many parents are having such accidents today. You'll find a homestead where the primary language the child had before going to school was Luganda, but because they are at school for 10 plus hours, the English comes like second nature to them. So this is where I'm coming from, asking you that question that I asked you. Do you think that the adoption of English in schools is threatening the survival of local languages?
100 plus, coupled with this level of urbanization, you know, because the child at school cannot speak. Most of them talk about these high levels of urbanization, where in urban centers, all tribes, and now also with our refugee policy and all that, we are so many. So the child cannot get a chance to master the local language. Reason being, even at home, you find it hard to speak it. So the school, it is not allowed there at school. And even where schools it's not allowed, I think in some schools, Olive, these are just automatic things, that who are you going to speak with in Uganda when you have Congolese, Eritreans, you have people from northern Uganda, you have Sudanese, because the reality is now we must accept.
You have Indians.
Yes, most of our schools now, the Congolese, the Eritreans, the Sudanese are so many. Most of some of these semi-ended schools. So definitely the Luganda will not survive there because no one is...
Any local language.
Any local language, to be honest, will not survive there. Now, when this child also comes home, instead of learning a local language that people is playing with, he's actually learning a language outside even of Uganda. And those are the people he's playing with. Now, home also it becomes conflicting in one way or the other. If I see that the child is finding it very easy to communicate in English because he's speaking in English, and outside he's speaking a language I don't understand, and I don't want also to now force again Luganda despite my local language. So you end up in a situation where we are losing it however much you try, because we thought it was automatic that at home you speak your mother tongue.
Language.
Now, for incidences, the mother maybe comes from the west, you come from the central bit of it. Now, how are you going to... There's a lot of confusion, and I must say local languages are at a threat.
Wow, local languages are being threatened by the usage of English at school, the forced usage of English at school, but also the adoption of the same in our homes. Now, Julie,
yes, please.
There are countries that have maintained their languages. You'll find immigrants, let's say in the United States, Italians, Indians, Chinese. Yes, they speak very good English, but then they are still speaking their local languages. Like first, second, third, fourth generation, they still speak their Korean, their Chinese, their Italian. What are they doing right that we need to emulate as Ugandans? Because the honest truth is, I have friends, they have children, and majority of them, the children, including mine, cannot speak the local language fluently.
I think I'll still go back to what the government had introduced in the curriculum of having our local dialects used from the start over 3 years, P1 to P3, right? And then moving forward, then English is, I think I'd still support that. Because I mean, the child finds a grip on that. The child has a foundation on their local dialects. And many, because children ask a lot as they grow up, they are asking many questions about the whys, the how. These things preserve them. So I think the government should focus on that and actually implement it harder.
Okay, thank you so much.
If anything, we lose things in translation.
Yeah, we do.
Right now, many things got lost in translation, still due to the colonial system. We lost our culture. And many, English is now a point of intellect. English is used to determine one's intelligence, even when someone is saying nothing at all. But because they're speaking good English with the highest vocabulary, they are considered very intelligent. So I think I would support the government's idea of having your local dialects in school taught in school by your local dialects for the first years of school, and then English comes in a little later.
Okay, interesting. And when it comes to these languages, language experts urged the government to make local languages examinable at all education levels, including primary leaving examinations, Uganda Certificate of Education, and Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education. Now, I know that at the Uganda Certificate of Education, which is Senior 4, and the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education, which is Senior 6, the local languages are actually taught and are examinable by UNEB. The only thing is, in some schools, they do not teach these languages. You'll find a school that teaches Kiswahili, French, and literature in English, but not Luganda, not, I don't know if Lunyankole is examinable.
And now I think for me that was the problem I found at large. I don't know if in Western schools, instead of Luganda, there's Runyachitara.
Do they have that?
I haven't discovered any. At least I know there's just literature at that.
Yes.
It's only in the central where we have Luganda or literature. And then a bit of, in my time of school, I was exposed to French, exposed to German, exposed to the English. I just did not do Luganda because, I mean, I was speaking it already. But we are even limited to just probably one language. And I think maybe the net should be spread wider.
Okay, so language experts are saying that the government should integrate local languages into the national curriculum, and that means at all levels we must have local languages, and also advise media personnel like cartoonists to create content in local languages for children to read. I think one of the things that helped me as an individual was that my first experience of reading was reading in my local language. The literature I was exposed to was in my local language. And it is argued that when we think first in our mother tongue.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we will interpret, and then we will do as prescribed. So this is a call to action to all of us, parents, guardians, relatives, and whoever we are. We need to teach our children our local languages. Now, as we close, Dixon Munanuzi from Chaliwajala Namgongo says, good morning. English is the main language for instruction and examination at school, so it should be emphasized in schools. But also, it's the responsibility of parents to ensure that their children learn indigenous languages, not schools. That is from Dixon Munanuzi. And someone is asking us to talk about Ebyawongo in schools. This is not the topic. But someone say, the Okello Robert says, dear Robert, Monica, and Julie, Robert Okello watching from Kole Town Council, Kole District. We love all of you for educating us. I know it's hard to stop them from using their local languages, but teachers should try to limit them speaking their local languages. And lastly, Kigwe Livingston Nsubuga of Rezandeja Division says, I personally support speaking local languages where applicable, even in schools. There are some languages taught as subject, Igi, Luganda. My daughter scored D1. Congratulations. Education should know that it's not all about speaking English, it's all about what a student can do. Well, thank you so much, Chigwe Livingston, Subuga, and the others that have commented. But also, dear viewer, for you watching and keeping it with us every single morning. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
International Women's Day is celebrated annually on 8th March. It is a time to reflect on progress made, to call for change, and to celebrate acts of courage and determination play by women. On Saturday, 8th March, Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate International Women's Day. The national celebrations will be held in Changwanzi District under the theme Accelerate Action for Gender Equality. The President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be the chief guest. Join us for the live broadcast to witness outstanding women receive medals in recognition of their achievements and contributions to the country. Happy Women's Day.
Ajuko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Ajuko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Coming soon on UBC.
Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV. With expert guidance, cutting-edge workouts, and a supportive community. You'll be unstoppable.
Richer and thankful is the new norm of saying good morning. Anyways, good morning, viewers. My name is Zakia Lucky, and thank you for being a part of us on the GMU Tourism Express. And today we'll be discussing a very interesting topic, which is hospitality. Ugandans are known for being the most hospitable people, and today we'll be digesting and getting to see if we really have it. For me, when you talk about hospitality, I'm thinking about good services. I'm thinking about all the smiles and how best we offer what we have to visitors. And with me is a beautiful lady that will be taking us through hospitality and telling us why this is a very important aspect in tourism.
Hospitality comes when the person who walks into your restaurant gets the service they need without even stretching and even thinking. So that is when you know you've achieved. But if you're in a place where someone has to first look for a waiter, there is lack of hospitality there.
You know, there are also other restaurants that you will walk into and these waitresses are tired. I don't know, by the way, how restaurants do it, but you walk into a hotel, this person has been standing from morning to evening. I don't know if they take shifts or what, and by the time you come through for your lunch or probably dinner, this person is already exhausted. The smile cannot be pulled off bright like it has to be. Sometimes it's plastic. How is that done?
Well, that goes back to management. So if you're in position to manage a hospitality facility, one, you should look at your working hours. You should look at the workloads that you do in a given period of time, because there are restaurants that are busy very early in the morning for breakfast, and then there are restaurants that pick up for lunch and dinner. So if you realize that maybe we are busy during the afternoon times, get the people working the morning shifts to be fewer than the people working maybe in the evening shift, or vice versa. So that you know that whenever we are shifting from maybe breakfast to lunch and dinner, fresh faces, fresh minds. Someone is not overthinking. I came in very early, I don't know what time I'm going to go back home. Because at the end of the day, what affects the employees affects your company, because the employees are the face of your institution. So you have to be very vigilant, you have to be kind, so that everything works out well for you. Yeah.
And there is this thing that I'm seeing of late, where as you continue to have your meal, the waiters keep checking in on you. Is the food nice? How are you doing? But also there are people that are finding it irritating. You know, you have different people walk in, you do not know at what particular point to approach them. So how do you go about that?
Well, that is very tricky because in most cases, some people are not outspoken.
Yes.
So they'll come eat and then they'll go home and then they'll put out their feedback to the wrong audience. Of, oh, I was at this place, the food was too salty, then I'll never go back to this place. So when someone comes in and then keeps on asking you, how is your meal, how do you feel? It is to know what is going on with you, because maybe we give you meat, you know, a mislove, but maybe we give you black pepper, you don't like black pepper. We can always change. That is the main reason as to why we keep on checking on you, so that you feel comfortable, you feel hard. But then we also have a group of people who, you know, when you go to check on them, they don't like it. It's very irritating. If someone is open enough to tell you that, oh, I don't feel comfortable, well and good. But if they don't, it's tricky, because I'll keep on knowing it, because I have to make sure you're okay, comfortable.
What I'm getting from this is your client should communicate if they are okay with it or not.
Yes, that is the reason as to why I come back and to ask you, how do you like the meal? Are you comfortable? Is everything okay?
Yes.
You have a right to tell me this is not okay. You have a right to tell me that food is too salty.
Yes.
So I'll definitely go back to the kitchen, because I'm afraid when you go when you're not happy, you're not going to come back. But then if I correct this mistake, there is room and chance for you to always come back, because you remember that when I was at this restaurant, I raised my complaints and they fixed it. I felt special. So it's just for you to feel special, just that some people don't appreciate that we are making them feel special, which is also okay, because some people think that us checking up on them, we're stepping in their privacy, which you want to be everything for. And it's just a matter of understanding each other.
And how do you also deal with clients that have anger issues? He's probably had a very bad day, and we've seen some, you know, come and put it all onto waiters and waitresses. How do you deal with that?
Well, like they say in hospitality, a client is the king. So when a client comes in with maybe anger issues, you know, they're very angry, they're very rude.
Yes.
There is also a statement we use, kill them with kindness. So however rude they may get to you, unless if they get physical. But if they're not physical, be polite, accept that you're the one in the wrongs and not the, however much they may be in the room. Just accept, and then if you are a waiter, waitress, host, you know, try as much as possible to explain the situation to your manager, because sometimes it's hard for you to go forward with work because you know you're the person in the picture, and maybe that your manager won't understand. The client will come on, say this one if this and that, when the story was the other way around. So it's always good if you engage somebody, child your supervisor, so that for them they always find easier ways of handling my situation than when it's with you. Because one of the biggest challenges that we also face in hospitality is people only undermine the people serving this, which is not good. You know, they get through, they get disrespect involved, and it's not nice.
Do you ever get clients who get physical?
Well, apparently we have, yes. But if someone gets physical here, we can always call security to handle it back us.
At least there's a polite backup for that.
Yes, but we would not really appreciate if someone got physical. because words don't hurt as much as actions. Yeah, because if someone got physical with you, there are chances that one of you is going to go off hard. And in most cases, we believe it would be always just because we do not appreciate you stay 4-1. However much it may be self-defense.
And talking about that, I also believe in feedback from your clients. Is it a thing that you take from them right after services have been provided to them and probably they're ready to leave?
Yes, for our particular case, we have a QR code where you can review us.
Oh, yes.
Immediately you're done eating, you can review us on TripAdvisor. We have a guest book where you write your whole experience. So we go through these things to appreciate your honest feedback, because when I'm having a one-on-one review, you may be kind and you're like, I don't know, everything's okay, however much it may not be okay. Yeah. But behind closed doors, this is when you just let it all out. Your meat was not nice, your flowers were not okay, the ambience was not good. I don't appreciate how so-and-so worked on me. So it comes in at a place where you're like, stop.
But I'm wondering, you receive different people, different cultures, from different... How are you able to read and know this is how I'm supposed to treat this person in this particular way?
Well, hospitality, one, is not segregatory.
Okay.
So if we choose and we are like, we have to be kind, we have to be welcoming, but we have to work with a smile. That is how it should be for every client. Okay. Because you never know who is going to appreciate your service. You never know who will come back. You never know who is going to be behind his feedback. You never know who is going to recommend you. So at the end of the day, if we are selling steak, we go through the same procedure. Walk in with a hostess, get seated, get a wet towel, and clean your hands, We take you through the same process. Yeah. So it only comes maybe when someone does not understand what we are offering. That is when you get extra careful with that past abuse, so that we make them comfortable. But I wouldn't really say that we have special treatment for special cultures. No. Everyone is as welcome as the other. All right.
Thank you. It's been really a long conversation, but stick with us tomorrow as we continue to digest this particular topic. Hospitality it is, and make it a point to be with us tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. And remember, we run from Monday to Thursday on the GMU Tourism Express. Have a good day. Good morning, Uganda. Welcome back from the GMU Tourism Express. And now it's GMU Business. And looking at matters engineering, foreign engineers must be certified, says regulator. Now, what you must know is that to date, the board has registered 1,915 national engineers and 229 temporary, that is foreign engineers, across various engineering disciplines, the majority of which are civil, electrical, and mechanical engineers. Male engineers still dominate the engineering spaces, of which out of the 1,915 registered local engineers, at least 1,725 are male, while 190 are only female. Now, all foreign nationals involved in engineering projects in Uganda must register and obtain required certification within 4 months of their arrival in the country. The Engineers Registration Board has said all foreign engineers working in Uganda must be certified by the board before they are issued with working permits. And speaking ahead of the World Engineering Day that will be celebrated between March 2nd and 5th, Professor Engineer Henry Alinaitwe Mwanaki, the Engineers Registration Board chairman, said following a recent meeting between the board and the Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration, it had been agreed that all foreign nationals involved in engineering projects in Uganda must register and obtain required certification within 4 months of their arrival into the country. And I, for one, looks forward to when female engineers will rise above the 100, just 190 females. I look forward to the day when it's more than that. But let's look at matters. Insurance, 4 years later, Insurance Appeals Tribunal resolves 26 cases. Now, what you need to know is that to expedite the resolution of disputes and enhance public trust in insurance, the Complaints Bureau was established in 2021, and individuals dissatisfied with the Bureau's decision can file an appeal with the Insurance Appeals Tribunal. Now, a total of 26 appeals have been disposed of since the Insurance Appeals Tribunal in 2021, and the tribunal was created to review the Insurance Complaints Bureau decision with the hope of addressing client grievances. Now, Mr. George Stephen Okotha, a member of the Insurance Appeals Tribunal of Uganda, notes that the tribunal's proceedings are designed to ensure that Ugandans receive quality service from insurance firms, and this trust is essential for increasing the uptake of insurance in the country. He says that since 2021, we have resolved over 26 appeals with about 1 or 2 cases reaching the High Court. And this indicates that we are striving to do the right thing, says Mr. Okotha. And for me, this means that Ugandans still need to be sensitized on matters insurance. They are still so foreign, it's such a foreign language, and more sensitization is needed. But looking at the foreign space in regards to business, Elon Musk did send emails over the weekend. First on Twitter, but US government workers received an email on Saturday afternoon asking them to list their accomplishments from the past week or resign. And the latest development in the Trump administration efforts is to scale back the federal workforce. Now, the email came after Trump's billionaire confidant, Elon Musk, posted on X that employees would shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. And failure to respond will be taken as a resignation, he wrote. Musk, as the head of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, has been leading an outside effort to aggressively curtail government spending through funding cuts and firings. Now, let's look at matters Forex. As of 21st February 2025, looking at the opening of the US dollar, it opened at 3,664.14 buying and closed in at and sold at 3,674.14. By midday, the US dollar was at 3,664.95 and selling at 3,674.95. Closed in at 3,664.86 buying and sold at 3,674.86 selling. The pound, as of 21st February 2025, closed in at 4,642.64 and sold at 4,655.31. The euro closed in at 3,849.20 at buying and sold at 3,859.70. And the Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.30 and selling at 28.37. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.41 and selling still at 1.41. And looking at the South African rand, it was closing and buying, that is, at 199.84 and selling at 200.38. And that's a quick look at Good Morning Uganda in business. Good Morning Uganda continues.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondolo. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the MyNGN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
International Women's Day is celebrated annually on 8th March. It is a time to reflect on progress made, to call for change, and to celebrate acts of courage and determination play by women. On Saturday, 8th March, Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate International Women's Day. The national celebrations will be held in Changwanzi district under the theme Accelerate Action for Gender Equality. The President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be the chief guest. Join us for the live broadcast to witness outstanding women receive medals in recognition of their achievements and contributions to the country. Happy Women's Day.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With must-carry heritage advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Coming soon on UBC. Are you ready to take your fitness journey to the next level? Join the Sweat Squad by Sion. Coming soon to UBC TV. With expert guidance, cutting-edge workouts, and a supportive community. You'll be unstoppable.
Junko.
Yo.
What? Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
I know, Sewatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The Parish Development Model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, the designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit. And I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
Kikatandika 2016 tukaba tuyina obusente buke munonga obwabitakubasa kutumalira tukaba ntusevinga kandi ntwahura ntuhoza turi bamemba 30 kusya 2021 emyoga yija emyoga kuyizire twahindura mu system eyabirera outside catering twageta restaurant akuba catering yakariyo restaurant twatandika kusevinga kirecho twasevingira him twaroshanjo na gumwe iki twatandikireho ekitebe echo twatandika no kuyayo sente z'emyoga 2021 ukwezi kwa mukaga ebyikuma ukwezi kwa mukaga twihayo ruti yo kubanza miliyoni 3 hanyuma ya 1 month twagarukire batuhereza miliyoni 5 zaba 8 twazishashura twazumara myezi mukaga twagaruka tuyayo miliyoni 10 twayihaye zindi 10 twazishashura zaba 28 hati tuyini 10 ezituriyo twazo meisho nizashatu na 8 konka obwa hati cyakibwo restaurant tuyine miliyoni 58 n'emitwaro 2 ezitwari sevingire itwenka association tukuru kugira ngo tukozesize emyoga yonka ekashanga nitwe turi abakozi nitukora emyoga kuyizire tine magoba yatwongesereza itwe twakora magoba go kugira ngo tugureho poroti twagigura twareba ngo kugura poroti tukombeka ate kuja kututahiza juba nko kutwakubire tuyine business endijo twatunga entasi ya buri zoba tuyine hibiscus juice twakora wine twakora liquid soap twakora herbal jelly ezo zabe entasya zeitu nkabantu tuyine na millet flour ebyona ebikutahiza ekitebe eki nukoma kubaga kurugamu omurye bitwamara kutunda twagumiza mu ntombeka poroti yaitu eyekibina ahabwe emyoga so ikindi kugambira nti emyoga niyo yatukozesizebi etakizire tukaba sitine sente tukasitakagizire na kiroto cyo kugira ngo tushubure nkabanya kibina enju hatukinjire tushakire tukinjire commercial business kandi tucyayombeka nukwe binu nibigumana bireta sente nibizara sente nitubaganaho nitwe nkabanya kitebe ntusevinga ho mu kitebe kitu kandi ntugumiza muno gukora development y'ekibina so vari addition ekatuyamba munonga abwo kuba ekatwongera sente twayongera amani ahabwe emyoga ebitoke byabire nibidiba twatandika kubikoramu wine cyatuyamba umwanya wo kugira ngo tubitematemerente n'embuzi twabikora mu wine echupe mwe ya wine tutuguze mutware 2 kandi ekidomora cya wine tutuguze mutwaro 6 hibiscus juice tuguza akadomara ku rwarte emwe kugarukira hariti 5 rero waringa pressure na sukari nitambe kigaro nk'emyoga nsima president Museveni abo kuba tarizire ahitwabire turi tukasitari nka hato kuturi konka hati sente ziriho niwe nkano kireba ngo ebinte bitwine biri kutasya nibitasya burkeire amagaragarije abo kuba tuyine sente hiziri icyo kuteganisa no rufurgo nka bitebisigire no bano yihuraje akwa wenda kunyo soda no arojini wenda kurya nyama no arojirire so nguturije so ngo abantu baganyirwe kandi icyo twenka tuganyirwe ne cyaro kiganyirwe itwe tugobire amagoba guturu kwihaho tuyine mbuzi tuyine punu abantu bona buri muntu ayine yankoko kandi ababire bine obujubuti bakombeka amaju ababire batine bibanje bakagaruka bayongera kugukobwa ngo bakora baguzire bibanje so turukurungi basingomaza nibekolera barije munonga tibakwegomba kugira ngo nanka ino mushija no kwari kurungi kureka bakatunga sente tukatunga muzaire Museveni yatemyoga so turukurungi umuntu wena nana yitaga sente niko base kukole bintu akabaje nkanye nkajowana baho mugisha ni sima obwebembezi bwa president Yoweri Museveni yowe ebyanje bitambwire kurungi tinde kabarebire byo bote no mini abakazi bakaba batakora ibintu mbwire bo mini Museveni ahangare nko musoro ahangare sapeho ayebari sima bwongerwa.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
This is Good Morning Uganda. Time check is 7 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock today morning. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. If you're just joining us, if you've been around since we started at 6:30, we appreciate you. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and with me is Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono and Julie F. Nantaba Mosisi. Together, we will delve into a critical conversation. You see, mental health issues among Uganda's youth are a growing concern. Statistics indicate that over 5% of Ugandans struggle with depressive disorders and 2.9% from anxiety disorders. Now, despite this alarming reality, mental health continues to be underfunded, and of course, the social stigma also is included. There is inadequate healthcare services and a culture of silence that has left many young people struggling with support. If you can't talk about it, how can you find a way to resolve it? So today, we delve into this critical conversation to find solutions to the elephant in the room, something that probably many families would not talk about openly, and that is mental health. Now, with mental health comes the triggers. What is leading to the increased cases of mental illnesses among Uganda's youth? The main focus will be on Uganda's youth. Just over the weekend, we had news go viral of a 16-year-old who committed suicide in one of Uganda's high schools. There are allegations of why he committed suicide, but we don't know for sure if what we saw being alleged to be the truth. Either way, the biggest question here is, why would a 16-year-old child commit suicide? Just at the beginning of the month of February, a girl set herself ablaze, and the allegation was because she had been transferred from one school to another and she had left her boyfriend in another school. Allegation. But still, one would wonder, you are 15. What would compel a 15-year-old to have suicidal ideations? Big questions, we need answers, we need solutions, because if 5% of Ugandans are living with depressive disorders, this doesn't paint a good picture. That's why I invite you into this conversation on WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. Join the conversation, share your views, share your experience, and tell us what in your own perspective you think could be the biggest trigger, but most importantly, how do we resolve issues of this nature? Good morning, Robert.
Hello, lady in red.
Orange, how are you?
This is orange.
You're starting to be colorblind again. Are you eating carrots?
I'll go to La Paella, is it La Paella?
La Paella.
And get something for my eyes.
Yes.
Well, it's not good news. For us to be discussing such. We would have wanted to discuss something much better. But we find that this is a big problem, and the media has to keep the world, the country alert that wake up, there's an elephant in the room. Now, when you look at statistics of people that we are losing because of mental health, and still it remains something very silent. Actually, let me tell you, even at the worst stages of mental health, we have stigma in this country. We have funny names to these people. Even we have discrimination. I remember one time someone who was given a position in a high office because this person had ever gone to a mental facility. She lost the job. People openly, this was a politician, I think it was a ministerial post. People openly and freely used it to say, that one cannot fit such a position. She has ever been to this hospital. She was treated. You get even the names we use. Mulalu. And the problem is, it all doesn't start at the end. It starts somewhere. That even some of these suicide incidents we are talking about, one may say, but they had never reported a case of mental illness. But if we are to analyze properly, mental illness is not that fact where a person is beating others, throwing stones, or where their speech is not coordinating. No, it takes various forms. Actually, that could be the worst form. There is no person in their normal sense, maybe, that would put a rope or commit suicide. But in Uganda, when you talk about depression and tell someone she's undergoing, or she's depressed, remember when someone was talking about stress, another one came out and said, how can you be a Ugandan and you complain of stress? Who isn't stressed? Everybody is stressed. Now when you say you're stressed, who is not stressed? And you're depressed? What do you mean? Here, people have all sorts of problems, but the level of managing these problems. Now, we are talking about teenagers. My sister said, what would bring a 16-year-old to commit suicide?
Or to have suicidal
ideas. But you see, the circumstances, those small things we don't look up to, are the ones that are causing these problems. Are you aware that they have so many absentee parents? Leave alone, which is also not good, a child losing a father, losing a mother, that is also a trying moment. But knowing these parents are not there.
And it's also a trigger. I know a young woman that suffers from PTSD from the loss of her father.
But now what we are saying is you have a father, you have a mother, and they are absent but alive. This child feels they need to go close to their father. The bodies are going through and when you look at statistics, that is the age when the child is fitting into, trying to discover themselves. And the closest they would need by them happens to be absent. Because, Olive, if your daughter, this is a very sensitive matter, and I said the media, you must blow it out so that people get to understand seriously there's a problem, rather than all of us coming out and talking when a young man commits suicide and everyone is on that. Yet we could also be potential parents because of the way we are conducting ourselves. Yet society could be the pushing factor. Yet sometimes our faith could be the pushing factor. So these children are undergoing a transformation that many of them are not even understanding. What is happening? You know, a young man's voice is changing. He's seeing a lot of changes. Maybe the closest he would go to would be a father.
But then the father is...
But now the father is absent.
Either
A young girl is starting menstruation. The first time she doesn't understand, much as they have studied that experience. The breasts are cut. She has so much. Maybe the best she would run to is the mother. Now, the mother is not there. Now, what is she getting? Society, you girl, are you sure you're only 13 years? With that breast, you're lying. You get it? The world is all... Now, this confusion. Because previously, society had ways of handling issues. Today, you may say we're having these cases increasing. Previously, the aunties, a girl would know that for such things, the auntie would be looking out because she was abandoned. The boy, there were the uncles. They would be there to do their role. Society, children were brought up partially, every old person. And I don't know if people of today, it's us who are not mature properly. But any old person would sense a problem and invite this child and talk to them, give them right information. Not today where someone is going to speak to your child and exploit them or lead them in funny things. But you will have the right information. So today that is not there. And I think this is why we are having more of these challenges.
Wow, interesting perspective. Now, according to different government databases, it shows that 272,271 suicidal thoughts and attempts were documented in the past decade, okay? And of these, it shows that people aged between the ages of 10 to 14 years led the way with an eye-watering 39,656 cases. This is ages of 10 to 14 with suicidal ideations. And then they were closely followed by those aged between 15 and 19, that is 36,615 cases, and those that aged 20 to 24 followed at 34,697 cases in that order. And it would be an understatement to come to the conclusion that the statistics make for grim reading. Also, it's very important to note that in as much as here I am mentioning numbers, these are people. These are young people. If we have 39,656 documented cases of children between 10 to 14 considering suicide, we are not yet looking at those that went through with it. But considering suicide, this actually creates a very stark image that we should be concerned about as a country. And also, these are the documented cases. So it also begs for how many were undocumented? How many are there and probably no one ever got to know? Because Robert did mention it starkly, many of us would rather, bury our heads in the sand, push it under the bed and not talk about it, but it is in existence, it is happening. So Julie, this is where I invite you into the conversation. Let's look at the contributing factors to mental health, to the mental health problem we are experiencing in the country. First of all, what would be the primary causes of depression, anxiety, and stress among young people?
Well, for starters, I appreciate the fact that we are addressing this issue. Robert did talk about the fact that everyone ignores it, and yet it's an elephant in the room. Everyone just shoves it under the rug, like it's non-existent, yet it's actually killing human beings. And if you'd ask me, one of the major reasons why it's very, very ignored. It's the fact that as a society, we are ignorant. As a society, we choose to be ignorant because these people are in our faces. These people are actually crying for help. But we choose to go by what the majority say. That, that's maybe it's bad manners. Maybe it's, you know, it's a generational thing. Yet if you actually backtrack even from our parents and their parents, they also dealt with a lot of mental health issues. Except that in their day, there was no exposure. In their day, no one had insight to address this issue. In their day, there was nothing trying to expose these issues, so they were left untapped. Now, in our generation, it's different because there's a lot of exposure. There are many things our generation is exposed to that will give you a light bulb moment of, oh, wait, as I was going through that moment, I was actually facing depression. I just did not have a name for it. I was actually facing suicidal thoughts. I just did not have a name for it. You know, so as a society, we have adamantly chosen to be ignorant, and we have chosen to actually also stay in the nature of the old. We are conservative in a negative way, in a way that doesn't build us. It's rather killing us. And this also comes to even the people who are parenting us. You could find that at home, a child is dealing with a lot, but because they do not have a friendship with their parents, they do not know how to even be as open and vulnerable with their parent, they'll choose to keep quiet and deal with their issues on their own. When they go back to school, at school even the teachers are rude, probably. The teachers are labeling names, are giving them names. If they try to speak out, they'll give them names. I'll give an example of one of the things I appreciate partially is that my mother tried to be a friend. At least to some point, she tried to be a friend. So every time we went to school, she would ask us, what happened at school? How was school? What did you do? She would want to follow up on what exactly happened. And you would talk freely, but going back to school, when teachers knew that we would talk freely to our parents, they started labeling us Lugambo. So you get labels of that nature, ideally damage a child. And before you know it, they are keeping things to themselves and choosing never to address them, but they are dying on the inside. They're not able to express themselves. And the other reason I think it could also come from us still as a culture, our cultural norms. In Buganda, I don't know if it's in other tribes, but I know at least in Buganda that when someone commits suicide, they are treated a certain way. They are not buried the way other people are buried. They are, I think, buried in the same spot, or they are cut, and there's something culture about it. But if you look even in Kenya, we cane yes. We cane the dead body. But this is all to show where our mindset is in regards to mental health as a people, but even the cultural aspects of our ethnicity that play into the whole mental health conversation, that even when someone is dealing and dying with an issue, because of culture, they'll be like, they might call me names, they might label me things, and before you know it, it's your identity.
Okay. Now, Julie, I get the point where we choose to be ignorant, which is really sad, because we need to have an open mind, because mental illnesses like anxiety, like depression, and many others are to the brain what malaria is to the body.
That's true.
To the brain what diarrhea is to your, your system. So we need to have an open mind. But still, I would like to know, what should parents look out for? What are the major causes?
I think parents
you're
should
15,
be open-minded.
You're 16, or even 20 and 30. What are the major causes of these cases of anxiety, depression, stress, especially among young people?
I think, in my perspective, parents should learn to be open-minded. Sometimes parents have a narrative that, we went through it,
but what are they going through? What is causing it?
So, given that this teenager is as human as you are, that means they are bound to face problems. They are bound to face self-esteem issues. They are bound to doubt themselves. They are bound to question themselves. And if you're not as free as a parent, they'll keep these things to themselves. If they see that as a parent you're troubled, and you, as stressed as you are as a parent, that means you might bring your anger or whatever you're facing and lash it at them. You know that whole thing, they say that it's transferred anger. A parent is angered by the boss, and then they transfer it to their son or daughter, and the daughter transfers it to the cat or dog. So children will always shell. You back, you lash, a child will always keep it to themselves and shell, and then just hide in a shell. And you think you know them as a parent, but you actually do not. So I think, one, children are human, so that means they are facing issues just as you are. It's just part of life. But because you're an adult, as a parent, you have guards around you. You sort of know when to keep quiet, when not to keep quiet, what to say, what not to say. A child is not that yet. A child is still growing, and all they want is to freely express themselves. And unfortunately, that space is not there of expression. So that means they are turning to whatever is around. That is quickest, easiest means to heal whatever they are dealing with. Either social media, either whatever poor influence is surrounding them, whatever unsafe space. Recently, I was in a church space where we're having a conversation on sex. And these people actually said that, we have children around, don't say things like that. But ideally, who is a child supposed to learn sex, the conversation of sex from? If it's a safe space, if it's to be a safe space, it has to come from the parent. So if a parent, you're cowering away from telling your child that actually sex exists, but these are the parameters of what it's like, they'll learn it from the corrupt spaces.
Okay, thank you so much, Julie. And you can share your views regarding mental health problems among the youth. The WhatsApp number is displayed on your screen. It's 0709-602-592. In your perspective, what is causing the many cases of mental illness, mental health related challenges among the youth? Statistics indicate that we have high cases of depression, anxiety, and stress among our young people. So please share your views. We'd like to hear from you. Now, Robert, looking at some of the triggers of mental health related issues or even mental illness itself, how do you say would economic hardships, for instance, if the parent is experiencing economic hardships, and then unemployment by the parent in a home, and then academic pressure onto the children, maybe by the parents, by the teachers, how do you think these contribute to the growing mental health burden among the youth? I'm mentioning economic hardships and unemployment because the youth in most cases, if we look at the ages of 10 and 14 and probably 19, majority of them are in school. But what the parent is going through could actually affect the children, okay? So how do you think economic hardships, unemployment, and then onto the side of the students, academic pressure, how do these factors contribute to the mental health issues among our young people?
Well, I have the fact that you've partially mentioned part of the answer to that, but we must understand that the economic factor has a very big impact in the life of this child. How? Now, for example, don't quote me wrong, but these are facts. In Uganda, our education system, schools have been classified into classes. No doubt about this.
Yes.
We have what we can call the class A. I won't mention the schools. The class B
up to Z.
And the class C, I want to extend further. Now, if a parent has the ability to take a child to class A, usually class A has better facilities. These are children, even right from the feeding, if it's a boarding, from how they are sleeping, even how they are handled. You know, you don't expect canes in a class A school. You don't expect even the language a teacher uses in a class A school is very different from a class C school. Now, when a parent loses a job or goes through economic hardships, they can't afford this particular school. They'll have to remove this child from school A because you can only cut a coat according to your cloth, now to Class C. Now, remember our education system, and us as parents, we don't give more time to counseling and speaking to the thoughts of these children. Much as you may discuss with your wife that now we have to sell this particular plot so that we can get money to do this, with kids, we think the decisions we do don't matter to them. Anyway, they are kids after all. They will just follow. They will play in. And someone will tell you, children easily adjust. You know, they adjust. As you think of your wife, your husband, being taken through some preparation for what you, or even being called to the table, the children will just move them. I remember there was a time in my lifetime when this knocked in. But I was taken to a school and I told my father, honestly, that Daddy, I cannot be in this school. But it was a tough time of our life. And indeed, it affected a number of us. So, economic hardships, I just gave an example of school. Now that is education. Even
but
the
also,
homestead.
Before we even mention, sorry to interject, but before we even mention the economic hardship where we have the classism, how does it compare if a child knows, I'm going home, but I'm not sure I will have food? I'm going home, but
that's what I was coming to the next.
Notice.
That's what I was coming to the next.
Yes.
That live away from education. Now we come to home. Even just shifting, because I've said we don't prepare the minds of the children. If Olive today is staying in an estate and things go wrong, now Olive is shifting to a community because that is what she can.
A non-gated community.
The environment is not that friendly.
The school is
now
different.
You have children from school A that even have been coming and visiting. Psychologically, this child, you're now taking this child to a totally different environment. She doesn't understand the children. And we don't prepare children. Let's emphasize this. We think they'll adjust.
We just say we are shifting.
They're shifting.
We think they are kids.
They are kids.
They are merely kids.
They have the ability to adjust.
But they have friends. They have a community.
Friends that would want to come and visit.
Process.
They have the They have even a lifestyle. They have a lifestyle, these children.
Yes.
So, they're in something new. And instead of you thinking of explaining as a parent, you think of enforcement. You know the problem we have in Uganda, I've noted. Many people mistake fear for respect. And many parents, many people, you find that at work, you find that at home, where many people think fear is respect. So we push for fear, people to fear us, and we don't push for respect. Because respect is earned, and sometimes you're respected on how polite you are. Now, a parent comes home, the child is like, Daddy, for me, this environment. When you grow up, make your man and go to a better.
Actually, sometimes people mistake being quiet for politeness.
How being quiet for politeness? You don't want to talk. Even the feeding at home, the money has gone away. But let's also not forget one very important thing. I don't want to skip this. The academic pressure you talked about. Today, we've come to a time when we must review our education system. I'm proud the lower secondary was reviewed and the upper secondary has been reviewed. That's what at least we know they are going for another curriculum that is competent based. But there is this pressure today that we are putting on our children, Olive and the viewer and stakeholders in the education sector. When we were in school, school would start at 8.
Wow. That was unique for you.
At least 8.
My school started really
today,
early.
As I was going on, school began starting at 5.
Yes.
Preps were about you sitting and revising your books.
But also speaking to the streaming.
Actual lessons happening. You find a P7 child and you think he or she is a are they called backpackers?
Yes, yes.
These tourists that come with, you know,
the heavy bags.
The heavy bags. The child is breaking. They have weekly exams where even some are punished. They have mid-term.
Yes.
They have end of term. They have weekend term. A child comes home. Why are you giving a child of nursery homework?
Talk about streaming.
her streaming.
Streams.
This is for the bright.
So
This
you're pressured to work so hard to get out of stream or maybe green to join red, because red and orange are for the smartest.
There's so much pressure.
So the child has a lot to deal with.
You may there's so much pressure. So we need also to look at that angle.
Well, thank you.
For mothers, those are things that you may say, why would a 16? Why would this happen? But you're forgetting these other factors.
And actually, I'm glad he addressed that, because it still plays back into the economic factor. As you're talking about the streams, you know, A, B, C or X, Y, Z, the child now is thinking of my parents' money. The school fees.
Oh yes, because the parent is like, do you? And sometimes they don't need to tell you. You know what's going on at home.
Yes.
So instead of just being a child and studying, you have to worry about the money that is being paid to educate you, because and then in the long run or even in the short run, it is affecting your performance.
Yes, and indeed parents actually throw these terms at their children. You know, my money, I'm spending a lot of money, even at higher institutions of learning.
Well, according to the National Population Housing Census Report of 2024, it shows that 272,271 cases were registered in the past decade. That is suicidal thoughts, ideations, and attempts in the last 10 years. This was registered, and I did share that this was the biggest number was around 39,000 between the ages of 10 and 14. Now, breaking it down further, Buganda sub-region had the most cases of suicidal thoughts, plans and attempts at 48,948, followed by Bunyoro with 39,390 cases, and Busoga with 38,554 cases. Kigezi sub-region had the lowest number of suicidal thoughts, plans and attempts with 6,917 cases, followed by Acholi at 9,796 cases, and Karamoja with 8,414 cases. I think you do realize the stark difference. The more urban the region, the more cases.
Because there's a lot of exposure.
Exactly. And the report says that females had the highest number of suicidal thoughts and attempts with 150,921 cases, while the males registered 121,350 cases. So that is the picture. And coming back to you, Julie, when I was starting this conversation, I said mental health is extremely underfunded. Now, when we look at mental health care is underfunded, and we are seeing huge numbers of young people that are having suicidal ideations that are killing themselves. Uganda places number 6 worldwide when it comes to mental health related challenges, especially if we include the depressive disorders that we are facing in the country. So looking at the fact that only 1% of Uganda's health budget is allocated to mental health, how does this affect the access to mental health care across the board?
That makes it definitely hard. That makes it definitely hard. You know, as I was actually looking at, you know, the story, the example we did talk about earlier on of this child who, you know, committed suicide by hanging, I thought to myself, are schools actually aware and open? Do they serve it as a product in their school products, that there's mental health facilitations within school? It's just part of the products that parents pay for, that we have sessions, workshops, talking to the counselors, I don't know, of some sort. I did think about that, and I haven't heard of any yet, unless I'm just unaware. But I haven't heard of any.
Some schools try, and they think they have a counselor, something like that.
Some have included psychosocial therapy.
Where the child, if they feel they can go to. In some, it's well streamlined and structured. In others, it is not there. Usually, senior, is it called a senior woman?
Yeah.
Then this side, there is a teacher in
and
some...
senior women are just
and
traumatizing children. If you'd ask me, senior women just
and in some
traumatize
schools,
girls
how they
more.
do it, maybe if they have the religious leaders there's a reverend you can go.
So Robert, let's go back to the funding, because this cannot go, you know, unhandled. If we are experiencing more and more cases, and yet we have only 1% as part of the health budget that is allocated for mental health, how should the government increase this money?
Definitely
Should
so.
we look now, is this the time we should now be looking at improved access to mental health care?
It is, because right now it's prevalent. Right now there's a lot of, as you've studied, stated the statistics, there's a lot of suicidal cases. There's a lot of, you know, youths 14, 16, 19, 15, even above 18 years that are actually depressed and are committing suicide left, right, and center. Uganda being a youthful nation, that means we are losing out.
I think the biggest
even on the
challenge
economic
is,
forum.
even before we talk about increasing the budget, have we come to the fact that this is a problem with us?
We are now seeing that it is a problem. We have statistics to
because
indicate the same.
you see, one of the things I've noticed is usually we have a challenge where key decision makers are not alive to the fact. You know, today we are talking about mental health. There's someone who is watching us and is saying, but is that really a burning issue?
Is it addressed on the floor of Parliament?
Because let me give you an example. I've not seen this issue on the floor of Parliament recently. The MAT clinic in Butabika Hospital closed.
Yes.
It had about 725 patients. It was sponsored basing on funding from abroad. These were taking a particular drug that rehabilitates them. Now, this is a big issue. Apart from it being talked about lightly. So as long as the decision makers, mental health, these issues you're talking about, anxiety, stress, depression, we only come to the fact when someone has killed themselves, has committed suicide solely, and we have information that this person was undergoing through depression, or when someone has gone to the worst and they have gone to the mental clinic. Are you aware that these people who are mentally sick are not even taken to ambulances? They are put under patrols and driven. If you call and you say, well, there's a person I think who has lost it here. So we need to increase the funding, that is automatic, but I still feel we need to drum the drums louder, blow the trumpet to bust our cheeks if it's possible, for people to understand that statistics are speaking. But we need to make this an issue, because budget allocation is much more influenced by people understanding the gravity of the problem. First, I told you if someone can be criticized for having gone to a rehabilitation center, and they have proceeded, but that is something to declassify that person, despite evidence showing recovery. So I don't know how we can rally the world, how we can rally Ugandans, so that Olivia statistics, these are national statistics. This is an issue that we must discuss. Then that will trickle to the budget, because when they go on the floor of Parliament, when they come out, look at civil society organizations, even those with the men dealing in this area are very few and very thin on ground.
Robert, I would like to bring in our viewer and their comments regarding this subject. And please, Mongofemi Zeno from Tororo says, good morning, Madam Monica, the entire team. Thanks very much for the impactful show. Personally, the peanut funding to mental health programs, government's reluctancy to widely prioritize and sensitize the masses, the few mental health workers and the myths in our communities, and the 21st century problems all accelerate the issues around mental health. Thanks for always being an eye-opener to us Ugandans. Thank you so much. And the next comment, it's from Benjamin, and he says, I've been a victim of mental health problems. I found out that my ex-wife was cheating, but I never asked her anything for almost 3 months. The stress I had never allowed me to work properly. I lost my job. Then next thing that came to my mind was just suicide. I thank God it backfired. It's always hard for a man to open up. Thank you so much, Benjamin, and we are glad that you're still here with us. And please, it's important to seek help and to talk to someone. Now, the next comment comes in from Phillips from Karamoja. He says there is a huge problem of poor and inadequate guidance and counseling of learners from schools. The recent student committed suicide while at school. It seems there is less support by senior women and senior men to students. They, teachers, may not be well equipped with skills to help identify students with problems early and address it before it worsens. I have seen most of the teachers chase students who come to report to them the would-be challenges, forcing students by parents, their children, to offer courses not of their choice. For instance, young people are joining A-level and some of them are being forced to take up combinations because that's what the parents want. And sometimes this may trigger into a factor of suicide. Now, Okello Morris from Kasese says, I think parents do not have enough time to share with their children. Children are not given enough chances to explain what they are going through. It is all about our jobs and money. Children have a lot to share with us, but they are gagged. Remember that bottling up is the cause of those recent deaths. If they were given time by their parents, those lives would have been saved. That is Okello from Kasese. And Atima Williams says most of the mental problems caused by use of drugs, alcohol. First, the government must control the use of those drugs and alcohol. Most times, by the time children resort to alcohol and drugs, there is an underlying factor that is not dealt with. So alcohol is used as an escape, which leads to more challenges. That is in my perspective. And then Mukisa Alan says, Mukisa Alan from Chengera says, the problem we have is corruption and we should stop voting parties. Alan, really?
Sure.
Mr. Shirabo, mental health is for sons of so-called rich people. They fully occupied. Mr. Shirabo, mental health is for sons of so-called rich because they are fully occupied. But for village kids of poor men from digging, you're tired. An example, your president, our president says he is a peasant and his mental health is in good shape. I think this is what he was trying to mean. Chirabo, your parting shots, use this comment to give your last remark, because there is also the impression that mental health challenges are not for the poor. And yet, poverty itself is a very depressive
mental
thing.
Health?
Yes, please. Your last remark in less
That's
than a
why
minute.
I'll just reiterate what I said. We need to let the world and Ugandans understand. That's why when we talk about depression, anxiety, stress, people will say those are for the rich. But just like we used to say that when it comes to non-communicable diseases, the likes of hypertension and all that, now also the poor are feeding these diseases. So by the time you wake up, you so-called poor in a safe space will have these cases coming to you as well.
Thank you, Robert. Bill says, recall mental health issues are affecting all levels of people. Recall the UPDF senior officer who shot himself dead in a playground in Gomba. We need to prioritize this issue. Thank you so much, Bill. Julie, your parting remarks.
I think for me, it's I want to see this conversation intense on the floor of Parliament. There are already societies addressing this, but they are not hard enough. So I really look forward, in fact, to the next, the next government running, 2026. I look forward to mental health conversations addressed enough on the floor of Parliament and entertaining all these societies and groups that are addressing this issue intensely, so that Ugandans are sensitized the more and made aware the more on this issue before it actually drains out the whole of Uganda, which is essentially a youthful nation.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's important to understand that at the point when someone commits suicide or starts having suicidal ideations, that's not the point when they started dealing with mental health related challenges. It could have been so many years before that. So someone could have been a peasant and they've been struggling with something, and when they come to Kampala 1-2 years, they are committing suicide. So for all of us, it's important for us to take this very seriously. And I'll end with a comment from Moses from Bukasa Chirinya. He says, according to me, the major causes of mental health problems is moral breakdown in core family values. All other factors are just subject of family integrity. If we have functional families, it will reduce the mental health risks. Thank you so much, Moses, and to everyone else that has commented and is still commenting. Let's keep the conversation going. The hashtag is UBCGMU. Stick around.